This is so good.
I like that we're matching.
Today we're going to be working on our core. It looks really good though.
This is why we stopped working yesterday. Look at all these air bubbles. These are all air bubbles. All right. This glass has had a day to cure, and I'm really, really happy with how it came out. It rained a little bit last night, so it's wet, but it means you can really see like the contour. Everything just looks really, really, really good. Adding the support and the brace underneath to push up the plywood helped eliminate that little bit of like a saddle that was in here. And so there's a couple of little like divots around the edge where the glass kind of comes up and over, but we'll be able to fill those with some fairing filler and then smooth this out. So it worked out really well. That worked out so well. This is so good that if we just wanted to paint, like do a light sand prime paint, and then if we were gonna put Kiwi Grip back on, we could put it right on over top. Like the indents and impressions are so minor, you wouldn't even see them once we put Kiwi Grip on. It worked out super well. All right, let's go pop it off down below and see how well that worked. All right. Let's remove our spring tension. It's just gonna come off just like that. Nice. Cool. Awesome. So we're gonna probably put a couple more layers of glass on the bottom or grind this back a little bit to try to make it match, but yeah, overall I'm pretty pleased with that. Well, now that everything is glassed and sealed up, it was time to reinstall our lights. But since we're glassing the ceiling, we can't put them up there, so I just kind of hot glued them onto the bulkhead. Next step on the list of things to do is going to be to smooth over and fill in any indentations and impressions and bumps and cavities to try to make this surface as smooth as possible. There's like some pretty big indents up here where the turtle shell is screwed in, and obviously anywhere where the cabin top like curves up and comes back down, that's going to create a weak point, and that's probably why it's so flexible. Just filling these depressions in and then glassing over them smooth, it's going to make a big difference. Another lesson that we learned, which is what we implemented on the hatches, is that we probably should have put a few extra layers of chop strand in first before we filled in the port lights, because there's a little bit of like an indent here. So we're gonna bog over those, fill them in so they're nice and smooth before putting the balsa on and coring it. So today's just gonna be a lot of fairing and bogging and filling in with goo. It's vinyl ester filler that I'm using. It's whatever was left over from the rest of the work. And if I run out of that, I'll just start mixing talc and vinyl ester resin, which is also a perfectly acceptable filler to just bog things in and smooth them out. So that's today's task, a lot of filling. Now for the tricky part. Something like that. All right, so these indents that run along here are where the hull curves up to attach the turtle shell to, which is part of the companionway. There's also these indents along the side, which is where that sort of radius where our Dodger comes down and attaches. But because they're all attached with screws and screws tend to leak, I'm gonna bog in these depressions with resin mixed with talc, because the filler that I've been using for the sides is like really goopy. It's almost like a mayonnaise-y texture, which is really good to get a smooth surface, but it's not very good to get, because it sags. So if I put it up on the ceiling, it's probably gonna bow down. So I need to mix up a much thicker version of a bog that'll actually stay on the ceiling. So I'm just gonna mix up some resin and then use some talc, which is just commercial grade chalk. And that should keep it up there much better. So one of the tricks when you're using epoxy, you want to mix both part A and part B first to make sure that they're both really, really well mixed, and then add your filler like talc or silica or glass bubbles or whatever you want to use. When you're mixing vinyl ester, you mix the resin with the powder first to create the consistency that you want. Then you add your catalyzer. What's cool about that is you can mix up a bunch of tubs that's the right consistency without it going off. And then when you're ready to use it, you just take some out, mix it together, and use it. So it gives you a much more controlled workability because you can really proportion out how much you mix at a time, and you don't have like a whole bunch of nice fairing filler kicking off in your cup. So the other thing you want to make sure you do is you catalyze for how much resin you use, not for the quantity of what's ever in the cup. So I'm probably going to use about 400 mils of resin and then add enough talc to that to make it the right consistency, so it's going to stick to the ceiling. The other thing is that it's much easier to add the talc first so that you're pouring the resin on top of it so it doesn't create like big fluffy powdery mess, in which case I'll be using this measuring cup to make sure I know how much resin I'm actually putting in. Because when you're only using 1 or 2%, I'm mixing to 1% because it's hot. It makes a really big difference if you're off by just a little bit. It's one of the reasons why vinyl ester resin and polyester resin is usually only used by shipyards, because it's a little bit more tricky to use. All right, let's get started. That's the kind of consistency you're looking for. Now the cool part about this is I can leave that in the tub and just take some out as I need it and mix it. But I'm gonna mix all of it because I know I'm gonna use it. But the other cool part is that if you over mix it and it gets too thick, you can just add a little bit more resin as long as you're paying attention to how much before you start catalyzing it. So in some ways it's easier to work with, I think. All right, let's glue this up there. That's gonna do it for today. I'm gonna have to grind down these hatches a little bit and clean them up, but since I have to grind a bunch of the ceiling tomorrow anyway, to smooth out all of this fairing that I've been doing, I'll just do that then, and then fair it a little bit, and then we'll be good to go. But yeah, everything's pretty much good to go. I think I'm gonna put another layer on some of those bigger sections just to smooth them out a little bit more, but since it's so thick, it's really difficult to like put resin in there without it kind of all falling apart and get air bubbles in it. So I think I'm done for now, and I need to get out of here without a respirator on. It is potent now that all of the air vents have been sealed up. It is just like I don't know. What am I trying to say? It stinks in here and I need to leave. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
This looks nice.
Worked out pretty well. So we just have to like take out some of these little bumps and some of these little ridges and some of these little like gobs of goo and like some of this little bits with a chop fan like fully cure. Like we just have to kind of prep it just so it's gonna be really light sanding of the filler with boggy goo, whatever it is, vinyl ester goo. But yeah, it's nice and smooth now. It doesn't kind of like dip in and come back out again. So it's gonna be a really nice surface to put core over. We've got to clean up this edge a little bit, take out some of these little ripples of resin a little bit, kind of expose the glass a little bit, and then we'll fill that up this afternoon. Same with the one in the beaver, just clean it up a little bit. It's not going to be too much grinding. It's mostly going to be just really quick, just smoothing out what we're already doing. So it should go pretty smooth. We have a fan running in here because we're completely sealed up, and there's no wind in this boat, and it's not even summer yet. We're gonna have air condition this, and we're gonna die this summer.
Can you tell who's who? I don't think they can tell who's who. I like that we're matching. It's getting really hot. We have a fan. Where is the fan? Somewhere in here. But like those suits are not breathable, so it doesn't. The fan doesn't really do anything. I mean, it moves the dust around, but.
I mean, it's definitely better than not having a fan.
I think it cools in the general area, but it's not like direct air on us. So.
I think we're gonna get an air conditioner from last year and just shove it in the max full.
Yeah.
And just dump full that in here.
Yeah, I think an air conditioning will make a difference. Like we're not even in the middle of summer yet.
Yeah, we're not gonna survive this summer.
Okay, well, I think we're done with the mess for today. We're gonna probably peel off all of our Tyvek suits, rinse the boat, and then we're going to add another layer of fairing, right?
Yeah, just in a few places.
Yeah, and then we'll be done for today. We're gonna like let it sit, let it cure, and then tomorrow, basically we're repeating what we did today, only slightly less intense. So we're just chugging on.
Work that has to get done. So.
Yep, somebody's got to do it, and sometimes somebody else got to help. Okay, well, that is it for the update. Bye! We're back at it.
Dry?
It's dry. It's actually really smooth.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good.
We still have like some like little holes that we can fill up. I feel like if we do a second coat of fairing, we were discussing whether or not we even need a drop ceiling, like a second liner. We could just keep it smooth and then paint it and call it a day. Less things to worry about. We can make that decision later. So I think right now this is going to be our mixing station. We have some taco. This looks like it's
taco powder.
Some taco powder. Yeah, we have
resins
everything we
under the
need
table.
to make some fairing. And we have resins on the table. And then we're just gonna do a second little coat where we need it, and then let it cure for today. And that will be the end of it. All right. Cool. This looks nice though. We still need to, obviously, the edges.
Yeah, but it's pretty good.
Here, but
It's really good.
I like it. I like it.
So you keep pointing the camera at you until you decide that you're done talking.
I'm done talking.
That's your out. And I'm done talking.
And cut. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be working on our core. It's going to be a core day.
I don't know why that's incredibly satisfying.
It looks cool too.
Yeah, so balsa. This is the same balsa that we used in filling in the salon hatch and the V-berth hatch. And we're gonna be putting it on the side deck now. Definitely between the main bulkhead and the cockpit, maybe in the V-berth. We're doing that for multiple reasons. One, this is still relatively flexible. It's only maybe 4 or 5 millimeters thick of fiberglass. So although it's strong, like it's not gonna break, it's just flexible. And because our whole deck is unsupported, without any bulkheads in it, this whole like cabin top above me, when weight goes down on that, it's sort of like pressure and bends out the side deck, which makes sealing port lights in there difficult. It also just makes the boat a little bit overly flexible in our opinion. So we're gonna be using the same 1 centimeter balsa core, and we're gonna be gobbing it all along the side deck and then shaping it later. The plan is that we're gonna be wetting out the back of it with just some unthickened resin to help it like absorb and soak into the balsa because it's very absorbent. And then when that sort of stops taking any more resin, we know it's sort of saturated. Then we're gonna mix up some sort of mayonnaise peanut butter thickness of resin and do a notch trowel and squish it on so that when we press this balsa in place, it'll like stick really well. And then we're gonna let that cure. And then tomorrow we'll come back and sort of shape the balsa to be where it needs to be and then start fairing and gobbing and glassing over it. And that should make a really good like sidewall, very stiff, so that any pressure coming down the deck makes the whole cabin top much stiffer. Other than that, this like the fairing and grinding and everything we've been doing up there is pretty good. And after we do this, we'll be ready to glass the whole thing.
Yeah.
But we're in a cave, it's hot and it's stinky. So we're gonna be wearing respirators and running a fan, which means we're not gonna be recording audio. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, if you guys are wondering why we're using balsa core and not foam, we covered that in our last episode, so make sure you check that out. We're not gonna go over it every single episode. So yeah, we're using balsa. And
Get over it.
Get over it.
Balsa's great.
Balsa's good if
you know how to use
properly.
it and you know how to treat it properly.
Exactly. So yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be a long day ahead of us. So let's get started.
I feel like Joe should know a little bit more on this side.
Time for a new Tyvek suit. My other one had too many holes in it. It wasn't very good. I've been wearing that thing for like a month. Not bad for like a $4 suit. Oh, so shiny. Ooh. Ooh. It's got that new Tyvek suit smell. Good morning, everybody. Yesterday, we glued in the balsa core on our side deck and the cockpit, and then bogged it in, faired it in. It's not really fairing filler, it's just resin and talc. So it's all nice and smooth. So this morning I've got a bit of grinding to do, just kind of smooth all the little bits and pieces out that need to be smoothed out before we glass it. And while I do that, Kika's gonna template and start cutting glass so that we can glass in all this balsa today. On the inside here, we're gonna do 3 layers, and we finally got our new glass in, which already has a chop strand mat stitched onto the biaxial. So it's 3 layers of that rather than 6 layers of thinner biax and chop strand. So it's really the same thickness in the end, it's just much less work. So this is gonna get 3 layers. Underneath here is just gonna get 1 to sort of like seal it up and bridge it together. And then the cabin top itself, we're gonna do 2 layers, bridging the whole thing, and probably a 3rd layer down the middle. And then everything's gonna be super duper strong. Even with the core and with all this new glass, it's still gonna be lighter than the deck liner that we took out. So it's gonna be lighter and stiffer, which is a bonus. And that way we're gonna have a really solid surface to mount port lights to, and the whole thing should be much more rigid. Once all that glass is cured and dried, then we'll give it a test and see if it's strong enough or if we need to add ribs, but we have a little bit more sanding to do today, and then glassing all afternoon. Should be fun.
It looks really good though.
Yeah, it worked out really well. I'm happy with that. Check this out. Out of all of the balsa that we ordered, we only have one piece left. And it's got human, I guess, in here last night. So it's kind of like...
Good thing we don't need it.
Not flat anymore. I mean, you can make it flat. Yeah, so we just have this one piece left. So that's pretty good guesstimation. We decided not to core in the V-berth along the same sort of side because it's much shorter, so it's much stronger. And we're running a bulkhead down the middle of it for the head and a bulkhead halfway through for the head. So it's gonna be much better supported than any of this is anyway. So I don't think we need to do it in there.
Oh man, this roll of fiberglass is really heavy, but I just finished cutting all the layers that we need today. I think I hear Dan still grinding the inside of the hull, so I'll wait a few minutes and I'll go check on him to see what the status is, and then after that it's going to be time to fiberglass. It's time.
It's time to glass.
It's time to glass.
Kika's got like all of this buffet.
Everything is ready.
Of fiberglass laid out, and it's all labeled and ready to go, and everything's clean, and everything's sanded, and everything's faired, and everything's smooth. So yeah, now it's time to glass it in.
Well, we have to stop working a little bit early because it's too hot, and the resin started to kick. We weren't even done. Luckily, we finished at least 2 layers of the first section, but we're gonna have to come back in the morning where it's like cooler to continue. Otherwise, it's gonna be too hot to do this. Maybe we're gonna get the air conditioning and bring it in here. First piece done though. Barely.
Good morning, everybody. Listen how quiet the boatyard is.
It's super early. The sun just rose and we are trying to get a head start today.
Yeah.
With the glass work.
After our heated disaster yesterday, because we had to grind and cut the glass in the morning, we didn't get glass until noon, and by then it was pretty hot. So we kind of ran into some issues with the resin curing too quickly. So this morning we're back at 7 in the morning before the yard even opens. And hopefully it's gonna be cool enough we can actually get some work done. And then this afternoon we'll cut glass again for tomorrow. Yesterday afternoon I came back and shoved an air conditioner from last year down the mast hole. So maybe that helped to keep it a little bit cooler. If it's still on, I guess we'll see when we get there.
That's
yeah,
the
check
air
this out.
conditioner.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, you even strapped it around?
Yeah, I used the ratchet strap to keep it on the deck because it was a little bit windy. Hopefully that helped keep it a little bit cooler inside. Every bit helps. It's only 9,000 BTU, so it's probably not going to do a very good job, but we might have to figure something out with that because it's not even summertime yet and the boat's already too hot for resin. So we might have to actually get like a big air con if we're actually going to be working through the summer. Otherwise, nothing's going to get done. Cool. You ready to get started?
Yeah, I'm ready. Hopefully it's cooler inside now, but let's not waste time.
Oh, we got condensation on the boat. That's a good start. Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Climb on into my ice box.
Oh, it's cold in here.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't think it's gonna be able to keep up.
With the sunshine?
Like, it's colder in here, but it was also colder last night.
That's true.
I don't think it's gonna be able to keep up like when it gets hot and sunny, but it's gonna give us a good head start. So let's get glassing so we can get this done today. This is why we stopped working yesterday. So we only did 2 layers of glass on this one, which is plenty. We're gonna do 3 on the side decks, but like this is so much stiffer. But there are quite a few like air bubbles and gaps and stuff in it, which like isn't really the end of the world because it's not a super crazy structural piece of the boat. But the issue was that we were rolling on, by the time we put 1 layer on, by the time we came back to put the 2nd layer on, the 1st layer had already sort of kicked a little bit. And so like the resin didn't fully saturate the cloth. And so it was impossible to get out any of these air bubbles. And the sides are like kind of up against the companionway, but we're probably gonna be taking the companionway out and doing something different anyway. But that's why we stopped, because like this was sort of our test piece yesterday, and it worked out okay. Like the shape of it's fine, the strength of it's fine. It's so much different, like you can't bend it at all. But we couldn't get like the finish that we really want on it with the resin kicking off as fast as it was, so that's why we stopped. Hopefully today's gonna go better, because hopefully this is just gonna get like sanded and painted, and it's gonna be perfect. So let's get to work before it gets too late.
Yeah,
check the
let me see we watch. Yeah.
The time. It's time to work. Into a bit of a problem. It's already too hot to glass inside the boat during the day. And, well, I took our little air conditioner that we had last year in the office, stuck it through the mast hole, and it's running. It's got like nice condensation built up on it. It's been running for 2 days, and it hasn't died yet. The problem is that it's not strong enough to keep the inside of the boat cold enough to allow us to glass. So it's like noon in here. It's noon, and in here, like, got a little bit of AC coming down through there. But it postpones the inevitable. Oh shit, that turned out like shit. Yeah, it postpones the inevitable. It keeps it cooler longer into the day, so we can theoretically glass until like 11 or so, and then it starts to kick off. Like, we did all this yesterday, and the problem is that it's kind of, you can kind of see them. It's just full of air bubbles. Yeah, this turned out really, really bad. I don't really know what to do about it. I'm hoping that we can salvage it. But yeah, look at all these air bubbles. These are all air bubbles.